customs for Shabbat, the Oriental communities, respectively, over here. So we'll do a special edition over here. It happens to be this Shabbat where the time of recording, the International Shabbat Project. So I thought it would be an opportune time to speak about this topic. And just another exciting one. And first of all, in advance, wish you all Shabbat Shalom as we come in to here, and just some facts with regards to the beautiful day of Shabbat, everyone's favorite day of the week it is, and testifying the day of rest of creation, respectively, the Shabbat is, and how beautiful actually it is to actually celebrate it, especially if one is in Israel. It's always a breath of fresh air. So we're going to speak about, concentrate on some of the Sephardic customs within regards to Shabbat for the Oriental countries over on this special edition. We know that obviously the Shabbat is the day of rest, obviously in Judaism. It's got the most spiritual significance, let's just say, in of itself. Shabbat is a deeply festive day, especially for the Sephardic communities, especially our traditions, which span various different centuries, actually gets encompassed very much within regards to Shabbat, and especially foods itself, unique songs, piyutim, beautiful bakashot, gathering time to festive, to rejoice, and so on and so forth. So obviously we start Shabbat before the sunset actually comes in, and as we said, until the appearance of the 3 stars in the sky on Saturday night. So it's around 25-hour period, reflecting humanity's role we do in God's world by intentionally ceasing from creating work at that stage in time. Now, let's look at it. The sanctity, we know that there's 39 melachot, which is forbidden on Shabbat naturally. That's what we've spoken about on various occasions before here inside our program, which we do the whole time over here. 39 halachot. And we're going to talk about that in due course. I think the importance of speaking about it is infinite. Anyone joining in at the moment to this live video, we are exploring about various different aspects and customs with regards to the Middle Eastern communities, within regards to the Holy Shabbat over here in this special edition. Thanks for joining in inside this live edition, and welcome to our community over here as we explore within regards to the Holy Shabbat over here. As we're coming into Parshat Vayera, this week's Parsha happens to be Shabbat Parshat Vayera. It's a 4th Parsha in the book of Bereshit, in book of creation. Naturally, it's actually interesting. In English, we call it Genesis. This book, we call it Genesis, and how important it is. And everyone that you're joining in at the moment, please subscribe to the channel, friends. We've got 25 people live at the moment, so please subscribe, and we can learn some of the laws and the cuisines within regards to Shabbat. Now, for Sephardic families especially, Shabbat is culinary. It's a culinary journey. You can describe it as over here. It's got the most awesome journey in itself. Friday night, let's just say Shabbat day meal often features, let's say, slow cooked dishes. That's one thing. Obviously, we prepare all the foods before Shabbat, and it's a mitzvah, let's just say, to explore, to eat various different delicious Sephardic foods, Middle Eastern foods. It's very, very popular. You know, especially in the Middle Eastern countries, there are various different foods. Let's explore some of the popular dishes amongst Sephardic Oriental communities, which we do have on Shabbat. We have to point that out. There's many different great Sephardic Shabbat recipes that I, as a fast, will testify to. Actually, friends over here, I happen to be of Persian, Iranian descent, so which is also very interesting. So we, the Persians, tend to have some very, very delicious Shabbat foods constantly. So some Shabbat recipes, let's just say. So one of the most popular foods, especially, is couscous. And people make roasted back of veal with mushroom and new potatoes. That's a popular food. Spicy Moroccan fish cakes. That's another favorite of many, many people, especially on Shabbat. That's something I will definitely stress out over here. There's different recipes. I'm just using some of the dishes that are featured on Sephardic website over here. Thai chicken coconut curry, another delicious food which I'm on Shabbat. A savory chicken patties with olives. That's another, let's just say, favorite of mine over here. It's actually listed all the menus within regards to this for Shabbat on the website. It says Moroccan fish pastilla. Let's just say a dish for any occasion, especially on Shabbat. So all these foods obviously have to be prepared before the Shabbat. Another popular food that we have to stress out within regards to Shabbat is like a chicken piccata with let's just say flavoral, and it's got let's just say light flavors to it in of itself, respectively. Another very very delicious Shabbat lunch. Lamb tajine with prunes. Many people will actually enjoy that. Moroccan traditions. Many of the foods which many Sephardic households would have on Shabbat would be of Moroccan, because Moroccan food in general is seen to be one of the most best foods in the Jewish community in itself, and definitely one of the most popular foods without that worked out in of itself. Now, Moroccan Shabbat, obviously, women make round challah, for example, and matlu, something that's sprinkled with sesame seeds, dishes infused with traditional Moroccan spices like cumin, paprika, turmeric, delicious. Common dishes among the Moroccan community we have to show her is dafina, which is a stew of meat, potatoes, eggs, and barley, fish, chermola, fish marinated in fragrant, let's just say, blend of garlic, herbs, and spices. Another popular Moroccan food is salads, meze style, a carrot salad, delicious, with cumin, eggplants, zilouk, and beet salad being very, very popular. It's actually interesting, especially if you're Moroccan. Obviously, the women will light the candles on Shabbat. They welcome the Shabbat, actually, the Moroccan communities, with piyutim, let's say liturgical poems, and bekashot, something called bekashot. It's traditional Adulisian style melodies, which is obviously sung, I think, in Judeo-Arabic or Hebrew. It's a unique blend of prayer, let's just say. And we've spoken about this, I think, yesterday within regards to the Kiddush in Moroccan communities, obviously all communities, is recited over wine. Obviously, we do hamotzi and Netilat Idam before the hamotzi. And what's very popular in of itself, there's a table of honor, especially in Moroccan families on Shabbat. It's not just about food. It's about, let's just say, spiritual offering. Guests are treated like royalty when you have, especially in a Moroccan house, you're coming into a Sephardic house. Dishes are arranged to reflect kavod, honor. Kavod is honor in this. And Friday night meals include bastila, obviously a savory pie, meat and almonds. We try to make it. Meshui, a slow roasted lamb, and couscous with vegetables and sweet raisins is another popular food. Now, people will share words of Torah, how important it is, sing Zmirot, Torah on Shabbat, and discuss traditions that are passed down. How about on Shabbat itself? There's various different popular Shabbat foods. We have to, obviously, Shabbat morning, we get up. Ideally, the best time here to get up to praise nets. Many people, it might be difficult to, especially on the Shabbat. But then after the minyan, where you play wherever you come in, it might do Kiddush in certain communities. Now we have the second festive meal. So especially Moroccan, once again, the first meal on the night is representing, let's just say, kavod in of itself. And this meal is more to do with hospitality. A hallmark of the day, I think Moroccan communities have the overnight dafina, which is each family's version unique, carrying the imprint of ancestral hands, alongside the makuda, fried potato cakes, hard-boiled eggs with onion skins, popular on Shabbat, and spiced olives and pickled condiments. And men gather together afternoon time, especially on Shabbat, to do afternoon classes and see the value of learning Torah in of itself. Now, Sudah Shishit and Havdalah, especially among Moroccan communities. We're just talking about different Sephardic customs over here. Moroccan families will have Sudah Shishit, obviously the third meal on Shabbat. Popular Moroccan sweets include chebakia and almond cigars. Obviously, Havdalah will mark the end of the Shabbat. And many Moroccan Jews will actually preserve these traditions today. They'll make a strong, strong point about it in Moroccan communities, and how warm and beautiful, our communities are of Amish Shabbat. They've got some, arguably, you could say the Moroccans have the most popular cuisines, let's just say, in the entire Jewish community on Shabbat, respectively. Now, Sephardic music in general, we sing music. Obviously, we do the Kiddush on Shabbat, and Zimirot is very, very popular on Shabbat. And Sephardi music has been very popular all throughout the generations. Now, we're talking about Zimirot on Shabbat because we're not allowed to listen to music. We're not allowed to put a radio or cassette player on or anything like that on Shabbat in of itself. But we're talking about Zimirot itself, the importance of song in Judaism. Now, Sephardic music derives from the musical traditions of Jewish communities, especially in medieval Spain and Portugal. And it's got many influences, especially we're talking about Morocco over here, and in Greece and in Bulgaria and other places, obviously. Now, there was inquisitions from Spain in 1492 and Portugal in 1496. So lyrics were preserved by Jewish communities, especially forming the time period of expulsion from those specific areas, respectively. Now, the music of Sephardic Jewish community in general let's just say the roots of Sephardic music can be found. Obviously, elements in Morocco, Greece, Bulgaria, other locations also, I believe, especially in Spain, and so on and so forth. And the Jewish people, obviously, the Iberian Peninsula, the music has been just been beauty, just all throughout the different generations. And on Shabbat itself, there's beautiful things all throughout the week. Also, there's Sephardic music. It's very, very popular, and much can actually be said within regards to that. So that's another important thing. Now, Havdalah on Shabbat is always an event. You could say, if you listen to Sephardic Halacha, Havdalah itself, on our channel, we recorded a Havdalah, a couple of Havdalah ceremonies over the years. So that's something that I will have to stress out and recommend everyone, if you look at the channel, to watch over the different videos we recorded within regards to halacha and ceremonies in of itself. So we like to preserve all the Sephardic customs, the Oriental customs, as they say, of the communities of yesteryear. And we're just reviewing. Anyone coming in, welcome live to our channel over here. We're exploring within regards to the Sephardic community, the Spanish, Portuguese, Moroccan, various different Oriental communities. So please subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and welcome to our channel as we are trying to explore the Sephardic customs in of itself. Now, there's just not in of itself Sephardic customs for Shabbat. There's also for all throughout, let's just say, the various different Jewish life cycles. There's different, the Sephardic community itself has many, many beautiful Shabbat things. So something we want to speak about now, the Zemirot of Shabbat over here. Now, Zemirot is very, very pertaining. There's some very popular songs. Many of it was actually from the Sephardic communities, we have to point out. Now, for example, one of the most popular Zemirot songs on Shabbat is Bar Yochai, which we also have on Lag BaOmer we sing. That was actually authored by the famous Rab Lavi from Libya. Actually, Rabbi Shimon Lavi was a great Sephardic Chacham. Obviously, we will sing on Shabbat Shalom Aleichem, Eshet Chai, all communities do. And Azama B'Shvichin, actually Rabbi Isaac Luria, the famous Ari Kadosh, will be the author of that song. Very interesting enough, and especially it's sung on Shabbat meals itself. Another great song sung, especially in Shabbat, Sephardi Shabbat households, is Karibon Olam, actually by Rabbi Yisrael Najara, who was one of the famous singers, poets, Kabbalists of his time. He was very much a great person that we've spoken about on various occasions before. And Rabbi Abram Ibn Ezra is very, very crucial because he writes piyutim and different tefillot and songs all throughout the life cycle, the Jewish life cycle, Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, and on Shabbat especially the Tzamat Nafshi is another very popular song. There's especially Shabbat Zemirot. There's differences on the Friday night and the Shabbat itself. Kiyah Shemira Shabbat is another one from Rabbi Avram Ibn Ezra. And the third meal, you would have different songs, especially Yedid Nefesh, which you also sing, I think, on Friday night itself, respectively. It's another piyut on Shabbat. But the music, the bakashot itself, and so on and so forth, it's actually a beautiful and opportune time to get together, have the family sing. You get your kids involved with singing also, and make it into a proper spiritual event. Now, some more of the songs that we need to point out, because Shabbat is really Deror Yikra Lebenim Ba. That's another famous, I think it was written by Donish Ben Lebert, if I'm not mistaken. I think he was one of the great people from Spain originally also. And we spoke about their songs for Sudashit. Elecha Ekraya. This was actually composed, I believe, by Rabbi Shlomo Zerichen, who was one of the great rabbis from North Africa. Rabbi, I think we've spoken about before, and definitely favorite. I think he was Rosh Abed Din. He was head of Jewish court in Marrakesh, also respectively. Another one, Yom Shabbat. That was that's another favorite song. I think that's sang in many communities, and there's various other songs also. One of the ones from the Iraqi community, they sing Yom Shabbat en Kamohu. That's actually coming from the great communities of Babel from Iraq. They would very much sing that specific song. Now, Yom Shabbat en Lishkoch, that's I think from Rab Yehuda Halevi, who was another one of the great people from Spain, also respectively. This is a popular song that he sang, especially on Shabbat itself, respectively. So you can see many of the great songs. Now, one thing also popular in the Spanish communities itself and Middle Eastern communities, especially in Morocco, is something called piyutim, you could say. A piyut is a liturgical poem, and also on Shabbat, it is very, very popular. There's a whole history behind it, from the, let's say, from the earlier times, from 70 to 500 BCE. There were many great pietans, we could say Middle Ages especially. You could say Rabbi Isaac Luria, Rabbi Israel Moshe ben Moshe Najjar, who we spoke about before. He composed the Yaribon, which we just mentioned about beforehand. There's other famous songs. For example, one that we would say Adir Bimluka. Now, I'm not sure if this is a Sephardic one itself, but there's many different popular ones that are sang all throughout the different places. Adi Venaor, what is that? That's a piyut that we sing on Yom Kippur, a very, very popular one. It's got a beautiful tune to it, so we've got to stress out also. Adi Venaor. I think it was, it's as part of the Sephardic liturgy, if I'm not mistaken. And I think many Ashkenazim will also sing this song in of itself. I'm not too sure who the author of that is, but very, very important. I think the copies of the song itself was of the piyut was found in the Cairo Geniza. That's something that we definitely do have to point out within regards to that. Now, more songs. Adonas Slichot, for example. This is not necessarily a song per se on Shabbat, but we're just looking into some of the songs. Deroi Kra, as I mentioned before. Dunash ben Labrat. He happened to have been from the golden age of Spain. He was known for his commentary of the Teshuvot, Dunash, respectively. There's various other songs also that we have to point out, and we are just going to take a short break for just half a minute, friends. So just watch this space and please subscribe to the channel. In a moment, just a very short break. Hi, Shalom. Thanks everyone tuning in at the moment. Wherever you are watching this from, we're learning about different customs of the Oriental communities for Shabbat. We're talking a bit about the Shabbat songs and the piyutim, let's just say, that's very popular on Shabbat over here on this special edition. And welcome everyone. Lecha Dodi is another one. Everyone sings this pretty much. This was the author of this song was, I think, Rav Elkabatz, another great rabbi from the Oriental communities. That's something we also have to point out over here. There's a whole list. Maybe we'll do a special video within regards to this. Another famous Payatan, Moses ben Kalonios. This is another one. There's Tzum Mishlo. There's various different songs that we just showing about the beauty within regards to Shabbat itself. And a Yigdal. That's another one sang in the Sephardi synagogues on Shabbat. I think it's got 13 principles of faith formulated, let's just say, by Maimonides, very much featured in this song. And it's encapsulated, both Sephardic Jews and Ashkenazi Jews would actually sing this. I think the hymn's author, I think, is someone named Daniel ben Judah, who lived actually in Rome, I believe. So another one... that's another important song. Hopefully, maybe we actually sang the song, I think, on this channel at one stage in time here on this series. Anyone, welcome to the channel. We are thinking about now another popular thing on Shabbat that we do is bakashot. Now, we've spoken about this, I think, in a video last night. What is bakashot, friends? It's very popular. It's songs and prayers that have been sung by Sephardic, Syrian, Moroccan, Turkish Jewish communities for centuries, especially each week on Shabbat mornings for early hours, especially between Sukkot to Purim, respectively. I think the Addas synagogue in Jerusalem is a center of Syrian practice today, and communities, especially in Ashdod, Montreal are the center of Moroccan practice. Now, it was actually sung by the famous Kabbalists from Tzfat all those years back in Israel. That's something that we do have to point out with regards to the famous bakashot over here. Now, they would sing it on Shabbat, self-respectfully. In communities, even in London, Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, it was very, very popular there also to sing and lead the various different bakashot. Communities such as Aleppo, in Turkey, in Morocco, they would sing it. They would sing it in expanded proportions, let's just say, in of itself. It was customary to rise from bed in the night on Shabbat in the winter months, when obviously the nights itself are longer, and assemble in the synagogue and sing bakashot for hours. And I think there's a famous song, let's just say, it's known as Moroccan collection, it's known as Shir Yedidot. I think it was actually from Marrakesh in the year 1921. And like, I think it was a Aleppo tradition where the bakashot service is the same every Shabbat. So in Marrakesh and Morocco, they will alternate it. And I think in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, the collection is first part of Joseph Gelego's Imre Noam, I think, very interesting, Turkish. And they have their own tradition of the bakashot called Shirat HaMaftirim, songs performed by choirs of Maftirim over there. In Ottoman classical music, you could say, respectively. And it flourished, especially in eastern Turkey, Salonika, Istanbul, especially in the 17th century. There's famous scholar named Rabbi Abraham Danon from Edine, who would actually testify to and chronicle and write about this also, which is something that we have to bring up over here. Now, he was a famous rabbi, I believe, in this time, Rabbi Abraham Danon. I think both Edine and Salonika, the Maftirim, would sing a fasil, known as for each Shabbat in different makam. What's a fasil, friends over here? A fasil, I think, is a suit in Ottoman classical music, or Arabic nauba, and makam is a system of melody, types used in Turkish classical music. That's something that we definitely have to point out over here, which is very, very interesting. Yeah, so that's interesting onto itself. Yeah, so friends, anyone joining in at the moment, please subscribe to the channel. We are exploring about the history of different Sephardic customs in of itself from different countries, and what a pleasure it is actually to speak about our Jewish heritage, Sephardic heritage in of itself. Now, many of the Moroccan tradition, let's say bakashots, are composed by many of the people from the Golden Age of Spain, including Solomon ibn Gabriel, the great rabbi, Rabbi Avram ibn Ezra, who mentioned about before, and Rav Yehuda Halevi. Especially many of the bakashot are featured very much inside various liturgies, not just on Shabbat, but also on the Chagim that we celebrate. I think later composers include Rav Yaakov ibn Sur, who lived between 1673 and 1723, and Rabbi David ben Hassin, who passed away in 1792, a famous Moroccan poet, Piyutim of the Sephardic world. And many of the Piyutim range from Shabbat to Jewish holidays, including Purim. Many of the Piyutim are in Judeo-Arabic, we have to point out, and encapsulates Sephardic poetry to its finest, as to say. There's another famous Rabbi David Yafala from Mogador, will bring about various different piyutim in of itself. Very popular, Rabbi David Afriat, Rabbi David El Kayim, let's just say, Rabbi Chaim Attar from Marrakesh, respectively, also over here. So very, very interesting. So friends, we are exploring within regards to the various different piyutim on Shabbat. I'm just going to take a short break again. Everyone, please subscribe to the channel if you're new to the channel over here, as we are a community and we're exploring the Sephardic history at its finest over here. We're actually recording this just before Shabbat in Israel at the moment. So what an opportune time to always speak and enjoy. And welcome to our community if you're new here, and enjoy the various different teachings, let's just say, in itself, as we get ready for Shabbat. It's going to be the International Shabbat Project this Shabbat, worldwide, globally. So many people are celebrating it, and we are doing our own thing over here in our community over here to acknowledge this very, very powerful day. So welcome everyone. If you've just joined in at the moment, you're live, and you're welcome to our channel over here, friends. And please subscribe to the channel. Syrian tradition in Aleppo, in Syria, the custom of bakashot goes back 500 years, especially on Shabbat. The community would rise 3 o'clock in the morning to sing bakashot, listen to voices of great chazanim, payetanim, musharim, and those who arrive will actually say Mizmor Shir Yom HaShabbat. They would listen. There will be sermons from the rabbis singing in of itself. Now, there's famous Ada synagogue in Nachlaot, which we have to point out. actually a name, I think, of Jacob Addison himself. He passed away in 1925. And I think it's headed by Rabbi Chaim Shaul Abud, famous rabbi. He was an Israeli poet, a rabbi educator. He was combined, let's just say, the bakashot from Jewish community of Aleppo and songs that he wrote himself, interesting enough. Now, especially the themes within regards to bakashot, especially on Shabbat, there's a total of 66 Syrian bakashot songs inside a book. I think various pismonim also. And many of it, especially song 1 to 34, will list 10 sfirot in Kabbalah, respectively, and very, very beautiful. I think the 36th one of the 66 is called Shalom Vasedek, which is a song written by the famous Rabbi Shlomo Laniado. Remember, the Laniado family is... other contributors to Bakashot, especially from the Syrian community, include famous rabbis like Rabbi Elazar Azikiri, who was famous Kabbalist in Tzfat also, and Rabbi Yisrael Najjar, we spoke about before, Rabbi Abraham Maimon, Rabbi Yosef Satan, Rabbi David Pardo, another famous 18th century Italian rabbi. I think he would spend some time also in Sarajevo in the old Yugoslavia. Rabbi Yitzchak Ben Attar, Rabbi Eliyahu Sassoon, Rav David Kassin, Rav Shimon Labi, who we mentioned about before, obviously, Rav Mordechai Abadi, Rabbi Shlomo Menaged, really great ones. There's a recent composer about Syrian community in Aleppo, Rabbi Raphael Antabi Tabush. He passed away in 1990. And he was a leading, let's say, pismonim composer. And his Talmid, I think, was Rab Moshe Asher, who was and Rabbi Chaim Shaul Abud, who became his Talmid, respectively. Classical composer, there is someone named Yitzchak Yedid, who's very, very popular, will combine Bakashot with contemporary classical writing. And the current practices with regards to Bakashot, especially on Shabbat itself, the Adar synagogue is based in Nachlaot, and Musayev synagogue is based in the Bukharian quarter, where on Shabbat, I think starting from Shabbat Noach, which was 2 weeks ago, the second Shabbat after Simchat Torah, they will start doing Bakashot every single night. And the Edmund J. Safra synagogue in Brooklyn practice Bakashot every Shabbat under leadership of Rabbi Mansour and several Chazanim, I believe. Also in Argentina, especially Shari Tzion over there, would do it. And let's just say, the Turkish Maftirim tradition persists in various places. And we said Moroccan Bakashot itself in Israel are sung regularly in cities like Ashdod, Ashkelon, places with large Moroccan populations, respectively. So that's very, very interesting. So how beautiful is tradition of the Sephardic communities? That's something that we'll have to point out within regards to that. Anyone joining in live, we are exploring Middle Eastern Oriental Shabbat, various different minhagim over here to do with Shabbat. It happens to be the International Shabbat Project Live. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new here, and welcome to our channel over here. Welcome to our community here on this special edition over here, which is always a pleasure to speak about. We do loads of great content here on this channel, and that happens to be just like today as we are warming up for Shabbat Parshat. Let's just say Vayera over here. Now, especially in London, I'm from London over here, there's various different Shabbat customs, let's just say, that come about, so the various different minhagim, and very, very interesting Spanish, Portuguese customs, and many of them all throughout the time comes and gets reinforced on more places. And let's just say, in of itself, it's Rabbi Ovadia Yosef will famously rule that authentic Sephardic custom has always been to give a blessing before lighting. This within regards to Shabbat candles. Just like women do not need to accept Shabbat upon themselves at that moment. That's one thing we should point out. There's various different songs that are sang on Shabbat. There's obviously, we know that we do the Birkat Kohanim, especially I think in Spanish Portuguese communities, for example, the priestly blessing of the congregation by the Kohanim is performed only on festivals, apparently. I don't think this is like everywhere else. And this actually the same as Ashkenazi custom. That's something to point out. But I think all the other Sephardic communities would, on Shabbat itself, respectively, would do the Birkat Kohanim all throughout the year. So that's nothing to point out. But there's much out there, the rich heritage of the Sephardi community. And remember, Sephardic laws, customs, it varies between different locales, especially Spain, Portugal, from Mizrahi countries, from Asia, from North Africa in of itself. There's many, many different laws you could talk about itself within regards to many different places. So that is very interesting. I think even liturgy on the Sidurim is different in various different places. That's what we have to point out. There's different kinds of Kabbalah, let's just say, to get today. Now, it's actually interesting. At present day, just as general Sephardic outlook, especially in Israel, many popular prayer books, for example, if we're looking at the liturgy of what we pray on Shabbat or the week, will follow the Baghdadi rite, let's just say, which is known as Minhag Edut Mizrach, the custom of Oriental congregations. But other authorities, especially older rabbis from North Africa, don't necessarily go for that. They would, especially there's 19th century Livorno editions, and the Shammai, the Yemenites and Syrian rites, I think will belong to that group itself. Great rabbis like Rav Avad Yosef prefer, let's say, a form shorn of some of the Kabbalistic additions and nearer to what would have been known to Rav Yosef Karo, the Maran, the author of the Shulchan Aruch, the Code of Jewish Law. They established a standard Israeli Sephardi liturgy. And we talked about the liturgy of the Spanish-Portuguese communities also differ from the other communities in of itself. And has like maybe a more older form of text and less Kabbalistic additions and flex some Italian influence in of itself. Now, very, very interesting. Now, there's differences between minhagim just all throughout the week, but that's for another class in of itself. Maybe we'll do a whole edition. What's the differences between Sephardi and Ashkenazi all throughout the Jewish life cycle? I think that will be a opportune time. There's differences in synagogue, for example. There's differences of pronouncing things. And what within regards to kashrut lines, that is something that we have to point out, especially Yomim Noraim, life cycle, and so on and so forth. So that is something very important to come about. So yeah, that's very, very interesting. You can see the different Sephardi Sidurim prayer books in itself, respectively. I think we're going to hopefully do like a whole series of different customs of the Sephardi community on all the different, let's just talk about life cycle encompassments in of itself. So that'll be very, very interesting. But anyone who's been to Sephardic home on Shabbat, it's always beautiful, let's just say. And so on and so forth. You know, there's a great rabbi out there, I think, Rabbi Yonatan Akson, which will bring about various different Sephardic halacha and customs in of itself. And there's different laws what to do, especially if you Shabbat halachot for Sephardic communities as opposed to Ashkenazi communities. When are you allowed to, say, warm up food? In what specific way on Shabbat? What do you have to use in of itself? And can you breach traditions or not? Or they use the Shulchan Aruch also respectively to derive these laws. And many of the rabbis will go through different rulings also, you have to point out, where there's different communities also. So that is very, very interesting. But one thing for sure is, I think the Sephardi food, wow. On Shabbat, absolute delicious. And there's a lot you can find on the internet, obviously not to watch on Shabbat, but in general, of different traditional Sephardic meals that there is. There's different Sephardi Jewish recipes for Shabbat itself. And Sephardic Jewish cuisine itself is absolutely amazing. That's something that we would point out also here on this series over here. Especially couscous is very popular on Friday night. Obviously, having plain couscous by itself, I wouldn't definitely recommend. But there's many great chefs out there which will talk about the various great soups of the Sephardi communities, the dips. Many of it differs if you're from Spain, from Morocco, you're from Iran, like my family is from Afghanistan, various different places. And just to absorb the beauty within regards to the cuisines, that's something. Maybe we'll do a special class exploring the history. Remember, there's different countries. There's North Macedonia, Bulgaria, Greece, Turkey. There's different classic foods in all these different vicinities, which we have to point out, especially during the time period of post-expulsion, Ottoman Empire, the New World, pre-Spain, 1492, the herbs, the spices. And obviously we know that on Shabbat, cooking is prohibited itself, but Sephardic Jews developed slow-cooked foods that would simmer on a low flame overnight and be ready for eating the next day. One slow-cooked food was called the ropa vieja. I think the oldest name is chamin. Obviously, it's chulin. Everyone loves that. And it's also known as cham. And the Sephardic Jews were expelled from Spain in 1492. Many fled to Africa across the Straits of Gibraltar, and the chamin was changed, I think, at that point in time. Various different local ingredients come in. The fina will be covered in Morocco. There's another very popular Sephardi a dish called the shavka, which is very similar to kugel, I think, or brok, which I have to point out, which many of the Ashkenazi communities have. So many of the foods are similar between Sephardic and Ashkenazim, just how maybe it's spiced is different. Also, brokas, for example, is served on Shabbat morning. It's another classical, let's just say, Sephardic food. Sambusak is a semicircular pocket of dough filled with mashed chickpeas, fried onions, spices associated with Sephardic Jewish cuisine. And it's been traditional, I think, since the 13th century, which is absolutely phenomenal over here. So we are really gathering in various different, let's just say, the customs and the minhags and the culture of Shabbat for the Sephardic communities over here, which is always a pleasure. I'd love to do one talking about the Persian community in of itself, because obviously coming from a rich Persian background on both sides, there is so much to say within regards to it. So very much that will be that's different. Now there's a lot of differences also between Sephardi Shabbat and Ashkenazic Shabbat in many other aspects, and that's something that I will definitely do. But I think I've gone on for quite a bit over here. It's a special edition over here. We've been talking about it's a international Shabbat project this week. So I thought I'd talk a bit about some of the Sephardic customs, songs, which we sing in Tefillot, and so on and so forth in here in this special edition over here. So yeah, thanks everyone for watching over here. If you're new to the channel, welcome to our community over here. It's a community that there's no community like this, like no other. And we just like to welcome everyone, enjoy. We try to make sure we are one of the most, let's say, most welcoming and Israel supporting, let's just say, channels and stuff. Now, friends, I would say one thing also to you guys. I did an entire series on the Yalkut Yosef. This is Shabbat laws for Shabbat. And if you go onto the channel, it's called Yalkut Yosef. And we did maybe record about more than 130 videos within regards to that. I recommend everyone to watch it. Now, and someone was just asking me a minute ago, what's the difference between Sephardic Jews and Mizrahi Jews? So Sephardic Jews are descended from Iberian Peninsula, like Spain and Portugal, while Mizrahi Jews are those from Middle Eastern and North African countries. Sephardic originates from the Hebrew word for Spain, Sepharad, and historically refers to Jews expelled from Spain in the 1400s. Now, Mizrahi, meaning Easterner in Hebrew, is a broader socio-political term used for Jews from Arab countries and Muslim lands who are often descendants of ancient communities of those regions, respectively. So we're just exploring just the differences. Don't forget, there's Ethiopian communities also. We have to point out they have their own rich culture also, which is something we have to bring about. And Spanish Portuguese in of its own right has many different customs. But I think on this note, because it's come quite close to Shabbat, wishing all a Shabbat Shalom Uvrach. Welcome to our community over here. Watch over all the videos that we're doing. We're recording tons of great content. And yeah, just blessings from Israel. And Shabbat Shalom Uvrach. Take care. Thanks for watching.